Hey folks, it's Phoebe with Shrub Step Blooms. We've been having snow on and off since the new year, more or less, and it is the sloppiest, wettest, grossest mess out here. It snowed, I don't know, a couple inches this morning, and now it's sloshy. Just turned into sludge, and it's actively raining on top of it. So it's a wet mess. Under here are trays that I filled with soil right before it started snowing a couple days ago, in anticipation of finally getting around to my winter sowing projects for all the native seeds that I have piling up. And I'm really glad that I came out and covered them yesterday, because this is all accumulation since about 24 hours ago, and it's melting off and gross and soggy, but at least it's not sitting on top of here. So I'm hoping to be able to get to some of those today. And then yesterday, in anticipation of hearing we were going to get 2 or more inches more of snow, which we definitely did, I brought a bunch of trays inside the hoop house thing that we have going on, because I wanted the snow to melt off so I could actually get to work on the seeding that I have going on. I also have stray garlic sprouting in a tray that I found in the weeds, and some peppers, you know, just all the accoutrements of hanging out in the greenhouse. There's some stuff overwintering in here, like some figs. So there's a black mission fig, which is not hardy in our zones. I have no idea if we get a cold snap if it will live, but I'm kind of over bringing it in the winter and babying it, so I'm not gonna. This is citronella. It's dead. It's a whatever the citronella-y type of geranium is, and I'm pretty sure it's not gonna live, but I'm gonna cut it back and see if it resprouts, because it survived colder temperatures last year than I realized it would. There's Cecil Bruner rose cuttings that are established in there, and then some hellebores I picked up on clearance today. Haven't planted yet, so this is all in the way. I'm gonna have to start clearing this out or rearranging or something soon, because I need to be able to start putting trays all over everything. I spent, I don't know, an hour or 2 in here yesterday tidying up, and boy, can you not tell, but that's okay. So the objective today is to get seeding. This bucket is all the seeds I collected a few weeks ago that I think I showed folks. A couple tripods, because we're gonna need those if I can actually film stuff. And then this is full of seeds, and then there's another tub of seeds in the house waiting. These are not all native, you might notice. So this is Orangium yuccifolium. It's native to the Midwest. It is not native here, but I thought it would be a cool one to grow for flowers and maybe or to sell for like more water-wise gardens in our area. We'll see how it does. You can see who I got it from. I really like Prairie Moon. I've had really good luck with their stuff. I also have some liatris that I was going to try to start from seeds. So there's liatris spicata is the one that you typically see for sale for cut flowers and that kind of thing. So I figured I would try a different species. I'm not going to hazard saying that on camera because I will butcher it, but that's the species. So it's a more like sparsely flowered one. The liatris spicata is really dense flowering on the stem. This is a tiny bit of pale purple coneflower seed, and then I've got a whole bunch more. I just like the way it looks, so I'm going to try to grow a bunch more of it for cut flowers, and then the seed heads are nice for drying. We've got fireweed, which is great, and then we've got mounds and mounds of other native stuff down in here. And the reason they're split into 2 tubs is because all of the stuff that's in here needs more than 60 days to stratify, more or less. So we've got ribosurium, which is wax currant, and you can see who I got those from. These are from Southern Oregon-ish, and a lot of their stuff is wild collected, or I think it might all be wild collected. And then we've got a hodgepodge of the stuff I've collected from our property, a whole bunch of rabbit brush in there, and then some grass seed and that kind of stuff. So everything that's in here is going to need more than 60 days. I am quite frankly behind by like a month. I should have started seeding stuff in December, November, like I have in the past, but I think it's gonna be fine. We'll find out. Some of this stuff will do fine, like the yarrow. It doesn't need like, 90 or 120 days or whatever some of those really long ones do. Eva's investigating, helping, doing her thing. So this will do well. A lot of this is destined to be seeded out into the pathways out in the flower field to see if it'll take and if I can grow a living mulch cover out there. But then we've got stuff like Philadelphus lewisii, which is mock orange. That's this here with those itty bitty teeny dusty, speckly things at the bottom being seeds. So those grow into massive shrubs. It blows my mind every time I think about that. These do just fine with a few months of stratification. So stratification for us in a cold, moist environment, we got nice damp soil. It's a little bit sandy because I've tried to mix sand into the potting or the like bulk soil mix that I bought to give it a little more drainage and mimic our soil slightly more. So what these seeds basically want is to sit outside over winter to break dormancy. So we're just trying to mimic those conditions. Some of them need like only a month. Some of them you want like 4 months. So I have choke cherry seeds in here that should have gone in the fridge or freezer or something like 2 months ago. I'm gonna split them up, stratify some out here in like the wild, and then I'm gonna stratify some in our fridge as well to see if that makes any difference or if I can see any sort of difference in how those work. I have not successfully started choke cherry from seed yet, so it'll be great if I do. Other things I've gotten here, this year I'm going to try to tape my trays. So the last few years I've used plastic tags in them, which have gotten really brittle in the sun and then broken, and then it's just a sad mess, and then you have plastic you have to throw away. This tape is also plasticky and you have to throw it away, but it shouldn't break. I had it sitting on trays, like you can still see remnants of it down here. I had it sitting on trays all year, and with the garden marker, which is this bad boy, it stayed legible all year. So if I leave these out in numbered trays or in trays that have the species code on them, I think it'll be fine. I still might do one more backup. I do have those plastic labels here still. These were like the cheapy 4-inch labels that I found online. I might still put one per tray and like really sink it down in the side so it's just flush with the side, but that way if the tape fails, I still have something in the tray. One other thing that I've learned from experience is that I really don't like when I make mixed trays. So what I mean by that is I'm going to try to do one species per type of tray. Because in the past I've done like 7 of one species of lomation and 14 of the next kind, and then etc. etc. It's super confusing. Tags get moved around or knocked out or pulled out by birds or whatever, and then you can't tell what's what, and that's super aggravating. So I am doing single species trays to the best of my ability. Some of them, these are 98 cell trays, so half of that is 49 or something like that. So I might do like 49 of one thing and 49 of another, but generally I'm trying to avoid having a bunch of different stuff in trays. And the other thing to think about is if you are doing trays and you're doing multiple species in a tray, having them be ones that mature at the same rate more or less. So like not putting a tree over here and like a little forb that's only gonna live for a few years over here, because the rate at which they grow tends to be different. Like sure, it works, don't get me wrong, it works. If that's what you've got, do it. Do what you can, use what you can. But I've just learned like on bigger scale, as I tend to scale up over time, that I want to just do single types. This is that green rubber brush, still not really sure if there's seed in there. So for this one, I'm actually just gonna fill one of these little guys or something like it, maybe a little pot with potting soil, and then just sprinkle all this stuff across the top, chuck it out and see what happens, see if anything comes up, and let it stratify like that. And then if we do have success, I can just transplant the little seedlings out of here real fast and into either a bigger cell like this, these are like 8 inches long, or into one of these. So these are about 100 cells, they're 104. I bought them used, so there's a handful of them out of like the 90 that I bought that are missing like one cell, which is kind of funny, but it really doesn't matter. They still work just fine. I got them at a really cheap price because they were previously used. So all in all, big win, not producing new extra plastic, at least in this instance. So these have 104 cells if they have all their cells still, and then they are a nice length. So they're like 3 or more inches deep, which is nice. So I'm thinking like I can do all the yarrow and stuff like that in these, and then those should make it really easy to pop up and transplant out into the bigger cells that I've been using, or into the bigger pots that I've been using that I want to sell from. So those are like an 8-inch pot, 8x3 pot, that has a nice rooting depth that it should be really easy to transplant from. I was having a heck of a time trying to transplant out of these because they're the same depth as what I was trying to transplant into, which is not ideal because you want to give them more rooting space. And I am acting and treating these plants like they're anything else in the horticultural industry, just trying to figure out what they are, trying to figure out what works best for them, and moving on, because I think we tend to treat native plants as if they're kind of precious, but all the plants that we have, whether they're fruit or vegetables or herbs or whatever, ornamentals, they're native somewhere. They were just bred and developed to do what they do now. So I think if we crack the code of like what works for germination and transplanting and stuff like that, like we all kind of know squash plants don't like being transplanted. So maybe there's stuff like that with native plants where it's better to direct seed. I just want to avoid being too precious about it because I think that's a barrier to entry for people. And I'm sorry I don't have something more interesting to show you while I yammer on. Because I want this information to be more accessible to people. They've got some nice buckwheats. Look at that. I'm so excited about these. I don't really have many buckwheat yet, so that's something that's going to be great. Anyway, I want this to be more accessible for people, and if any of this helps people kind of get started planting like 2 native plants in the yard, that's fantastic. That's awesome. So I'm really excited about all this stuff. I really want to grow more sumac because I want to try to use it as spice also. If you're not familiar, sumac is used in indigenous and like Middle Eastern cooking a lot. So it might not be this species. This species is Rus glabra, the smooth sumac, which is native to our area. But there's different edible sumacs all over the world, not to be confused with poison sumac, which is a very different plant. Anyway, I could yammer on about plants and how cool they are and how much I want people to have access to them forever. Look at all those elderberry seeds. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to see how my big elderberry plant does next year, because there's this one that I started in 2022. It must have been planted it out and it just grew this year and it's doing so well. So anyway, not to repeat myself 18 times, but I really want this to be more accessible to people. I really want this to be something that people feel they can do. And part of the challenge is like access to even the seeds. Like I've tried to collect what I can, but realistically I don't have the time or resources to go and do all of that. So I'm trying to find places that are as close to me as possible that produce this seed in a quantity that's reasonable for me. So I'm not going to go out and buy like a 5-pound sack of wax currant seeds. Maybe someday that would be a great goal. Ooh, I was also really excited that they had columbine. I only ever see the western columbine or the eastern red columbine. I never see this species for sale. I was so excited. Okay, maybe not never, being exaggerating, maybe a little bit, but it's not nearly as commonly available for sale. And I'm going to treat this like it's a commercial one, stratify it, let it do its thing. This company is nice because they include those germination instructions right there on the back, so it's fantastic and helpful. But I've just spent like 10 or 15 minutes yammering about all these plants and all this seeding that I have to do. Let's look real quick at this nice wreath again in here. I'm gonna have to move it very soon, but I'm still really enjoying it. And then let's get to it. A couple other important things that I forgot to mention is my list. So here's my draft of things I think I'm gonna start. There's notes up here of what kind of tray that they're gonna go in, or what size of tray. Most of them you can kind of see are going in those smaller trays. And then these over here are just gonna get dumped wholesale into a tray, kind of like I was describing with the green rabbit brush, and see how it goes, because maybe there's something I've struggled to germinate in the past, or I don't have that many seeds of them and I just want to do a little bit of testing. Oh, I have a friend. I have a trusty pencil. And then the other thing I often use is these nitrile gloves. My hands, the skin on my hands is super thin. I always have cuts on my hands. So I'm trying as I get older to protect myself better by wearing gloves. These allow you to have a high amount of dexterity. It works well with big seeds. I usually take them off for smaller seeds, but if I have to mess with the soil a lot, I definitely put these on because there's lots of little wood fibers and whatnot in the soil that I try to protect my hands from now that I'm getting older. Anyway, so I'm learning to be a better note taker. Yay, go me. And for real now, let's get to it. So this is about an hour and a half of work condensed into 20 seconds. And you'll notice immediately that I never actually put those gloves on because I'm still learning to do the things I say I'm going to do. But it went pretty well. I could have benefited from a towel, and the tape definitely didn't work because the trays were too wet, but live and learn. So as I was going, I was trundling those trays outside, and a lot of these I threw some vermiculite on top of. It is currently actively raining, so I'm hoping it will help press the seeds down into the soil. Also hoping it will help prevent any little rodents or birds or whatever from coming along and investigating too closely what's going on before the seeds have had a chance to really settle in. I didn't really cover any of these seeds with soil otherwise because they largely need light to germinate. So there's also like the freeze thaw of winter should help move them down into the soil column a little bit. Right here we've got those showy milkweed. I think the seeds are just the prettiest thing. They look like little scales to me. So we've got 2 of those 98 cell trays of that. We've got 4 trays of the sagebrush, and then we've got a couple of species of penstemons up there, some buckwheat, the columbine, this purple sage, the Lanum lewisii, what is that, blue flax, and then a bunch of yarrow and elderberry down here. So quite a bit of stuff. Oh, and then there's Great Basin wildberry right down there. A lot of things done today. I'm done for the day. I brought some more trays into the tunnel for maybe tomorrow or whenever I have the energy to get out and do that. But for now, it's time to go in and enjoy the nice warm inside while these all get rained on. But thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll pick up soon with more, and if not, if this is the end of this video, have a wonderful rest of your day. So I got back to it 2 days later and did another dozen or so trays, mostly of native plants. I also did a couple species of echinacea and some liatris that I think I showed in just a clip before, and some of those just need some stratification as well. So they're primarily for cut flowers, but since they are needing the same cold stratification treatment, I just did them all at once. And those ones will stay inside the greenhouse just to keep them separated and not get mixed in with the native stuff. So about another hour or so, and a whole bunch more things are in trays. These are the ones I was talking about, just dumping straight into like tubs or trays or something instead of using cell trays. The one I'm most excited about are these peony seeds. That's really exciting. And then if we go and boogie on out here, we've got a few more things planted. So we've got several species of lomatium. Those are primarily just for me to plant out and try to propagate out. A bunch of rabbit brush, which is super overseeded. And then we added some gaillardia, which is blanket flower, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So kind of more hodgepodge today. There's more trays that kind of ended up being shared. There's 3 whole trays of Oregon sunshine, a couple trays of different species of currants. So all in all, this is kind of what we're looking at right now. And for this time frame, the last thing I need to do is fill 6 more of these type of trays and put out 2 more species of grass seed, but that is not going to happen today. So this is my progress for the weekend, which feels pretty great. I'm really glad to have gotten this done. I got pretty much a whole tub of seeds used up, which is great because we could use a little more breathing space inside. And I still need to throw some vermiculite on top of a couple of these, and then I'm going to call it a day. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.